to share with you. I've been quilting for years now. I'll say 30. I hope you can't guess my age. I try to stay young. Quilting keeps me young, and I love it. Um, just a short introduction about myself. I started with traditional quilting, and I did every log cabin you can imagine, every rose applique quilt you could imagine. And then later, um, I felt like I wanted to branch off into African American influence quilts. At the time, I couldn't find any African fabrics. I needed really bold colors and designs, so I couldn't find what I needed. So I substituted with batik fabrics, and this quilt behind me is the one hanging on my dining room wall, and that was my first baby. I actually published a pattern called African Dancing Ladies, and it's all machine applique, machine quilted, and that's where I got my start in design. And then just recently, during COVID, I had all these scraps because I also make clothes, and I had all these scraps, and I was like, I don't know what to do with these scraps. So I started a method of string piecing, which would be quilt as you go. Now, I don't know how many of you are quilters here, but if you've ever seen any videos or YouTube videos on string piecing, you either have to start with a tearaway fabric to stabilize it and pull all the papers off the backing, or you have to use a muslin to stabilize the fabrics, which are sewn at an angle. So I just felt like, well, I want to do something with quilt as you go. So this is my method. And I'm going to start with the string piecing. I've got, first of all, start with what you need to, if you're not a quilter, these are the supplies that you will need to do this project. An iron, everybody has an iron, yay! I hope. A sewing machine, which I have my trusty good old Bernina right here. Fusible batting, which I could not find fusible batting at Joann's, and then I couldn't find any. Well, I found some online at Amazon, but the thickness was either too thick or just not suitable. So I found this great fusible batting from Pellon, and it's very thin. So you don't really need anything too thick, because as you're sewing your strips on your base fabric, it's going to just be too bulky. You'll also need scissors, and you'll need lots of scraps. Now, I just, for the sake of time, I had pre-cut my strips, and it doesn't matter how what size you cut the strips into. I just don't like them to be too wide, because then, it doesn't have too much variety. So I'm going to show you what the finished block will look like first. This is one of my finished blocks. And then I also have some quilts that are in progress. So you also need about 6 yards of backing fabric. Maybe 5.5 if you can stretch it. And I think that's only going to give you a twin size. And it depends on how many pictures that you actually put in the quilt. You can make it smaller. I usually try to go with a 9 patch, which is 3 rows of 3 blocks each. You'll also need a rotary cutter, which is, I have this one right here. You can find that at your local fabric store. If you hear my dog in the background, she's a little snippy today. You'll need a ruler. I have a 2.5-inch ruler, but if you're working with a larger mat, you can use something that's maybe 24 inches long. You can also find this at the local fabric store. And just for today's demo, I have a quilter's cut and press, which has a where I would cut my fabrics on a grid of 1 inch square each. And then on the back, if I need to press, I can just turn it over. So I'm going to be using this side today. The first thing that you'll do you have to decide what size your blocks are going to be. I usually try to cut my blocks an inch larger than what I want my finished block to be. So for instance, if I want a finished block of 12 inches, I'll cut my batting, and my square, I'll cut this 13 inches, which is what I have right here. So this one is 13-inch square, and then I pre-cut my batting 13-inch square. And then what I'll do is I'll lay the good side face down, and then I'll put my fusible side on the inside of the fabric, and then I'll just press it. So then I end up with a square like this. This one's already done. It's already been cut and pressed. So if you're working from a larger piece of fabric, I tend to cut my, I'll snip in my fabric with a pair of scissors, and then I'll actually tear my fabric because that straightens up the grain, and you'll actually cut lengthwise. So that's what I did here. I'm not going to demonstrate that, but just so you know, you're going to cut your blocks 1 inch larger than your finished block. So my finished block, I want to be 12 inches. So this is 13-inch square. And then I already pressed my fusible. So then what you'll do is get any scrap fabric. You don't have to use African fabric, but I like the fabrics because they're really bold and they're colorful. So I'm just going to demo how I cut the strip. And this one is it's 3 inches wide. It's kind of wide for my project. So I'll cut maybe 2 inches or 1.5 inches or 1 1/4, just so that I'll have variety. So I'm gonna, I don't know if you can see here. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut this, and I'm gonna line it up with the lengthwise line and then the horizontal line on my board. And I'm gonna cut off just a hair so I know that it's straight. Then I'll turn it over, line it up, and then you can actually count because these grids are exactly 1 inch. And I'm going to do 1.5 inches for this particular strip. Okay, so now I have a 1.5 inch strip. And I also have my batting and my block that has been pre-fused. And what I want to do, if you could see the back of my fabric here, usually I don't really care what I use for the first strip to go down, but for this particular project, I wanted to use something that matched. You don't have to be matchy-matchy. Please don't be matchy-matchy, because if you do, you're going to come up with something that's really boring. So what you're going to do is take this strip and lay it at an angle across, and I try to make sure that it's in the middle. You don't have to. I've seen demos where they draw a line. Don't do that. It takes too much time. But because the batting, this is going to lay nice and flat. It's not going to move. If you feel uncomfortable about just sewing a line straight down, you can use pins. But this one is on the good side facing up, the wrong side facing down. And then I'm going to take another strip and lay it face down on top like so. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, so then I'll go right to my machine, and I'll use a 1/4 inch stitch. I'll turn this so you can see. So I have right sides of the fabric together, and then I have my 1/4 inch foot on my machine. You just need a straight stitch. And even if you go crooked, it's not going to affect it. It's actually going to make it look really great. But I try to keep it nice and straight. So I'm going to, if you have a walking foot already built into your machine, or if you have a separate foot, it helps keep um, the the fabric from moving the way it feeds the fabric into the machine. Um, it just helps to keep it aligned. So what I'm doing is keeping my fingers pretty much steady on here, and I'm gonna set my stitch a little bit longer than 2.5 inches. So I set my stitch for about 3 inches, lining these two fabrics up. Okay, at this point, you can take it to the ironing board, but you don't really need to. You can just finger press it, take that one over, and I'll finger press by just taking my fingernail and going along the seam. So I'll sew on the right side, and then I'll turn it around, take another strip, and put it on the other side. So I have another colorful piece of fabric. What you want to do is make sure your fabric actually extends past the edges of your block. That one doesn't, so I'm going to hunt for another one here. So I have this one, this one's wide, but it's okay because I'm not using all wide strips. And then I'll add it. Yeah, I'm going to add it on the other side. What I like about this is if you have lots of leftovers, you can use your leftover scraps. But if you don't have a stash of fabric, every quilter has stashes of fabric, but if you don't have a stash, you can actually buy jelly rolls. They're called jelly rolls if you go into a quilting store, a quilt shop, and they're all cut 2.5 inches in length.
Liz, where do you usually get your material?
My African fabric.
Yes. Do you have a special place you like to go?
You would have to get it online, Etsy.
Okay.
And then there's some places that don't have the quality that you're looking for.
Okay.
But if you go on Etsy, there's a lady called Test World Designs. Her fabrics are pretty good. A lot of my things, I actually have a friend that's from the Congo.
Uh-huh.
And I ordered a lot of my fabric from her for whenever she went to Africa for dressmaking.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so I was really lucky.
Yeah, you're lucky.
She's not going there right now. I think she made her last trip a year ago.
Oh, okay.
So I have lots of fabric, but I don't have, most of mine come from dressmaking or other projects that I've done. But Etsy's a good spot. Test World Designs.
Okay.
She's actually in Decatur.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you ever wanted to go there, because of COVID, I don't know if the shop is open now,
Right.
probably, but I used to take a trip down there if I wanted to go. Ponce de Leon, She's right in the center of town.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I think she's moved that location. I think she's
Has
moved
she
out of
moved?
that location, the Decatur location.
Okay.
Yeah, so the last I read on our website, I forgot the name of the street, but I think she's planning to move. If you Google Test World, and you'll probably read where there is some text about how where she's relocated to.
Okay. Is she still in Georgia?
Yeah, she's still in
Oh,
Georgia.
okay.
I want to say I think it's in Tucker. Her new place is in Tucker now,
Oh, that's far.
but like I said, just Google it. But she's I don't think she's in Decatur anymore.
Okay. Okay. But then I've bought things from her Etsy shop. Yeah, she sends fabric out right away. So, I never had a problem with getting fabrics there. But she comes highly recommended. Very nice lady. So I'm gonna finish this. I don't know if we'll have time for me to finish this block, but I'm gonna try here. And you know what, I try to line up my fabrics so they're nice and straight, but if it's crooked, it's not going to matter because you're not going to be looking at every line. It's a whole lot different than piecing triangles. And then I'll use this my fingernail again. And then so now I have some shorter strips. They're going to go as you sew. Your strips are going to be a lot shorter here.
Are
So,
you sewing with using a quarter inch
yes, I am.
seam? Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. But you know what? If you have a piece of fabric that's too wide or not wide enough, sometimes I'll use an 1/8 inch because the size of um, your seam doesn't necessarily matter so much. You want to keep it consistent, but if you have to make allowances and you want to change it up a little bit, you can sew right down the middle of that strip. Oh, I think Tess also sells the jelly rolls. So if you didn't want to buy 6 yards of fabric, you don't have to. You can buy just uh, scraps. And there's some vendors on Etsy that also sell bags of scraps for like $5. But sometimes you don't know what you're getting. There is a local place in Atlanta that sells African fabric, but if you're a snobby quilter, some of their fabrics are printed off grain. I hate to say it, but I didn't have too much success. Not going to name the store, but I don't know.
Liz, have you been to Fabric World?
No. Where is that?
Okay. It's in Snellville, but they do have they have some, I'm sorry, not Snellville, closer to Stone Mountain. They do have some African fabrics. And I also wanted to ask, do you pre-wash your fabric before?
I don't pre-wash African fabrics.
Okay.
Not if I'm doing a memory quilt. First of all, the fabrics, some of them have a wax resist on them, just like batiks.
Yes.
And
okay.
The only reason I would pre-wash is if I'm using large strips as a border.
Okay.
And it make the fabric is much softer. So after you wash it, then all the wax kind of washes out. It depends on the fabric.
Right.
One time I had, now this was like in the 70s when I had bought some fabric. I got it from somebody that was bringing this fabric from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It had blue dye. So I got blue dye
Oh no.
But it actually turned out really nice, you know.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. Sorry.
But so I think it's a personal preference if you want
Mhm.
um um if you want to pre-wash it. I don't really think if you
Yeah.
think it has if it's over dyed,
Mhm.
then you can. I don't know how you could tell if it's over dyed,
Yeah,
but
I don't know either.
um
I just noticed some fabric has that waxy, like you said, the waxy finish.
yeah, and if you don't put that finish on there, like if
Mhm.
you're making clothing, then that finish is great for skirts. Makes the
Right.
skirts stand out.
Full and mhm.
Top I have on, I've washed it a lot since I've worn it. But
Mhm.
when I first wore it, it was a little stiff.
Sorry. I think we had a question. In quilting, do you have to stay to a specific fabric?
I usually like to use 100% cotton, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, because any other fabric is questionable as to the duration of it. You know, if you have cotton, I know cotton,
Right.
but you don't want to use a stretch fabric. I mean, because it'll stretch out. And with quilting, it depends on the type of quilting. Like I went to a demo in Stone Mountain of the G's Bend quilters.
Oh, I
Uh,
love them. Yes.
yeah, before COVID,
Yes.
and they're they use fabrics that they got from a factory in Alabama,
Okay.
and a lot of but they just their type of quilting is improvisational, so they quilt by hand,
Right.
and so if the fabric tended to be stretchy, it was combined with something that wasn't stretchy so that it
Yeah.
stabilized. Um, I like to know what I'm doing. I'm not too unless I'm doing applique, then I'm not improvising. I'm
Yeah.
just going straight.
I have a quick question, Liz.
Yes.
It's Kristen here. Like my parents passed away last year, and I wanted to make quilts out of like one for my mother and one for my father. So should I just look for like shirts and things like that that are 100% cotton?
Yeah, you could if you still have some of the clothing.
Okay.
You
Okay.
could.
This is going to be my first like venture into quilting. So.
Well, you know what? If the clothing is soft or
Mhm.
um if the feel of it is softer than what you think you can handle, you can always starch it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
mean, I don't have my starch bottle here, but there's a starch that's lighter that I forget the name of it. Sorry, but I got it
Oh,
at
that's okay.
Vans.
I was just curious what to look for out of because I literally just saved a whole bunch of shirts and stuff because
Well,
I didn't know exactly what to use.
hundred
So
percent.
look for the 100%, right?
Yeah, 100%
Okay.
cotton. You can't go wrong. Not even cotton
Okay.
polyester.
Okay.
You know, if you're first starting out, then if not, and if you want it to be an heirloom quilt, you're gonna want to stick with cotton. I'm just
Okay. But thank you so much for that information.
quilty snob here. Cotton is the name of the game. So I want to finish this. I know we're a little short on time. I have an hour. So, but you get the idea. Everyone gets the idea of what I'm doing here.
Yes. It looks pretty straightforward and very quick. So I like that.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I iron my fabrics prior to cutting them, and then I have all my strips here ahead of time, and it just makes it go much faster. But if I'm digging out of my scrap basket and saying, I don't know if I want to use this, and I'm trying to decide on what to use, uh, my brain is working too hard. Oh, I thought I had enough here that I could. So now I'm gonna have to demo. I am gonna go to my scrap basket. Hold on.
Yay, we love scraps.
So I have another one right here from another project. Oh, that might not be long enough. So, and you want to cut your strips. Cut your strips on the straight grain of the fabric, not on the bias. Because if you're sewing at an angle, if you cut them on the bias is the 45-degree angle. So here I have the grain, which is my lengthwise grain, and my crosswise grain running this way. But my bias runs at a 45-degree angle, so it's too stretchy. So what I'll do is I'll cut along the lengthwise grain. Isn't this pretty? I made a lady a skirt out of this.
That is beautiful fabric.
And this one came from Africa.
Oh, really? I love it.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to get that pretty design in there. So just use lots of different fabrics. Try not to put the same ones in your quilt, in your block, because it just makes it pop. Oops, that one fell. Okay, okay. So then I'm gonna go face down. I cut that, it came out a little bit crooked, but I'll adjust it. I want to show you one of the ones that's almost done. I was making a quilt for my niece who had a baby in May. And I'm still not done that quilt.
I hear that with the project.
It's almost done. She'll get it at Christmas.
Yay. That'd be a nice Christmas gift.
Did you make the top you're wearing?
Yes, I did.
I
That's
love
beautiful.
it. It's gorgeous.
I love the sleeves too.
Yes.
Thank you. So almost done that block, this block. How long did that take? About half an hour?
Yeah,
I would say even less, maybe.
it was less than that.
Yeah, because we started a little. So you're doing great.
Yeah, I wanted to show you the whole process, even though it's straightforward for anybody who's not a quilter. So you can see from start to finish, but I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit.
Okay, now I want to seriously become a quilter.
Oh,
Make it look so much fun.
yeah.
You should, Kristen. It's
I
fun.
know.
I
I've
recommend
been
it for
wanting to
everybody
do
here.
it. I learned by hand when I was little from my grandmother. So
You did?
yeah, she only did it by hand, and I haven't done it since then. But I just remember that's what we did. We didn't have TV on during the summer. We went, when we went to Grandma's house, we quilted or we did embroidery or cross stitch.
Oh, you're fortunate to have had a grandmom.
Yeah, she grew up on a farm, and they made everything. So
Uh-huh.
that's what we kept doing.
Now, see, on this one, I sewed it on the wrong side, but I'm not taking it out.
That's
I
okay.
don't think it's gonna matter. Don't do all of them like that. It just looks duller on that side. Finally, the end, I think. No, I got a little bit of leftover, this little teeny piece on the end, but that's not going to matter so much when I square it up. So now this is what my back looks like. This is already quilted. I don't have to do the all over pattern to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those off using my rotary cutter and following the outline of my block. But I'm not actually squaring it up yet. You don't actually do that until you put it together with your images. So I'm also going to show you how to do your print out your images to make this design. I had a quilt that I had was fortunate enough. My aunt saved pictures of my ancestors. Very rare to have Black people that were photographed in your family. But you know what, guys? I can't find that quilt.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had it displayed, but then I'm really upset, but I still have the original pictures,
Oh, good.
and I also scanned the pictures into my computer.
Oh, that's smart.
So that, but you know, like I took so much time on that quilt trying to put it together, and since the pictures are so special,
Yes.
I was just like, it's got to be here somewhere,
Yeah.
you
Now,
know.
do
But
you
I had
store it a
displayed
certain way? Older quilts, do you have to store them a certain way?
You don't have to, but if you look online for acid-free tissue
Okay.
paper, and that's why it's best to use really good fabric to start with.
Okay.
I had bought some fabric in the 80s that I got from a really great quilt shop, and then I went to another shop and got other fabrics to mix in for colors. Now, 20 years later, the good fabrics still retain their color, and the other fabrics have faded. And some
Okay.
of them, like my binding, actually tore. So it really looks antique. But so here's your finished block.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
Did I change my? Can you still see me?
Yeah.
We can. It's kind of
Oh, I see where.
lower, I guess, when you're
I went-
sitting.
Okay, I don't know. I can't see you guys now.
Oh, what do you see, Liz?
Just me.
Okay, I think you're just, if you want to see us, you can, on the bottom bar should be more options. It should be 3 dots.
Oh, I see it.
And then if you click on that and change layout,
Oh, okay.
and if you go to tiled, you should be able to see everybody.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah, oh, that's amazing. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We're here.
Okay. Okay, so there's the finished
Beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
Now I want to show you, I'm going to demonstrate very quickly how to get your image, but I already have one here that I did.
That's so cool.
This is I went to the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. And this is my aunt and uncle and myself in front of the White House.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm surprising them with this quilt. Now, when you print out your photos, back again, I can't. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I keep changing this, but anyway, I can't see you now, but I'll figure it out. But when you print your photo out, you're going to use this, which I bought at Joann's, and you can order it on Amazon. It's pretty expensive, but if you get a coupon, I think it retails for $20. But if you use a coupon, you can get it cheaper, and there are 10 sheets in here. So this is specifically color fast. Sew in fabric sheets for inkjet printers. I've never used it on a laser printer, but it's really great for the inkjet. So it has a paper backing side and then the front side, which is your cloth side. So however the orientation of your printer is, you're going to follow the directions for your printer. I happen to have an HP, so I'm just going to can you see my printer back here?
We can.
Okay, so put my paper in there.
Okay.
And I already have my phone set up for HP Smart. And in the HP, you know, I'm sure it does it with Epson or any other type. I have my photos here. So I know you can't see that too well, but that's my aunt and uncle.
Oh, they're so cute.
And so I'm going to print from my phone.
Wow. You're very advanced.
Well, when you can also print from your computer, but when you go to your computer, you have settings where you can change the coloration. You can make it sepia print.
Okay.
I also, and I'm going to share with you some apps that I use.
That'd be great.
We do lots of different things with my photos. And I have one here that I did of my grandkids, but I'll show you that later. So all I'm going to do is print this out, hit print, and on the computer, it will tell you the layout. So you can lay it out so it's 8 by 10 or fill up the whole page, or you can lay it out so that it's, I don't know, I have one here that I did of the White House. This one.
Oh, wow.
Came out this way. But what I'm going to have to do is when I put it on my batting and my backing, I'm going to get enough fabric to put borders on either side.
Okay.
So, and I'll show you that later. So,
we had a quick question. What is the name of that brand of the paper? Sorry, I don't.
It's called June Taylor.
Okay.
Color Fast.
Okay, June Taylor.
I had another June Taylor, and I had just picked it up. I was in a hurry, and on the bottom it said dry clean only.
Oh, no.
I was like, make sure you look for the one that's sew-in fabric sheets for inkjet printers. That's washable, and it's color fast. What I usually do once I print out, I pull the paper backing off.
Okay.
I'll just take a few seconds to let it dry. The ink is usually, it dries right away. And then I'll iron it on the wrong side. Just to set the colors. I don't know that that's necessary to do. Now, I'm a little upset about this because it didn't come out in color. It just came out in black and white. So I might use it and I might not. I might just do something else with that. But on your computer, you know, you can always set your whatever you're going to print out in color or black and white, whatever you decide to do. So anyway, that comes out. You pull the paper backing off, and I did another one earlier today, and that one came out black and white. So I guess maybe I'll have to use the black and white somewhere. I don't think they will.
You could do a pillow maybe, or
yeah. But I'll put something colorful around it.
That'll look nice.
What I did, once I got it printed out, you can see that the sides, this border's larger. Just for that if you have your printed paper, that you match the centers. How are you going to match the center? You're going to fold your fabric in half. You're going to fold it this way, and wherever the crease is, you're going to take a pin and pin it in place. The next thing is, I have not sewed this down, but I lined up the edge of my strip with the edge of the paper border. Now, that's not 1/4 of an inch. So if you use 1/4 of an inch, some of this white space that's on the edge of the printout is going to show. So what I did was I lined it up, I took it to the ironing board, and I ironed it, assuming that the line was straight, put a crease in it to make sure that I'm going to stitch on that line where the crease was. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
So it's pinned. I'm not going to stitch it. We're running out of time. But I had already done you always do the top, the side, or either the side, right side, left side, then top and bottom. Okay. So I want to show you next how I put it together. So here's a sample of, this is another one. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so
Beautiful.
oh, she's upside down. Sorry.
Beautiful.
There we go.
So because I didn't want to use another printed fabric, the black always makes it stand out. And almost every African fabric, there's a dark color in there. It may be dark navy, or black, or but there's one dark color. So the black kind of unifies everything. So what I did was I used 2.5-inch black strips. And so here's the sample that I did. And I'll take my strip, lay it down. And now this is after I have squared it off. This is still, I think that's 11.
So do you have batting in between for the sacking? Okay.
Yeah, there's batting because now it's already pre-quilted.
Okay.
How are you going to put it together? You're not going to want to sew another piece of batting because then you're going to have 6 layers.
Right.
Yeah. This one. So what I do is I take a strip.
Can you take the camera, pull the camera down so we can see what you're doing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll take this strip here, and just for demo purposes, it's just not the color that I'm going to use on the backing. And I'll lay this strip right side down, and I'll lay this strip right side down on the back. So I'm making a sandwich. Can you see that? Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I will sew these two together. Okay, I sew them together. Then I press it. Would you guys like to see me do it? Because I will.
Sure. I mean, you have plenty of time. You have like 16 minutes, so you're good.
It's easier for you to see it. Now on the back, maybe I want to match my other strips I have. So if you have the 6 yards, you can take another strip like this. So I cut out my strips ahead of time, and I'll place these two. I'll make a sandwich, and always allow a little bit extra in case your machine doesn't want to cooperate. And that happens. And then I'll cut a lot of my excess off so that it's not in the way. So I cut that excess off. And then I'm going to stitch these two together. This is where a walking foot would really come in handy, but I don't need the walking foot. Can you guys see that?
Yes, now we can.
Now, just say you if it's less than 2 inches, you don't have to put batting in there, but sometimes I'll cut a strip of batting to insert in between these strips, and sometimes I won't. You don't really need it. So then, here we go. That's this, like this. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have your connecting strip. And then what I'm going to do, once I square this one off, is I will put the right side down. This is that block. Can you see that?
Yes.
And I'll place the right side of this block against the right side of my other block. And I'm only going to pin it to the black strip, the top strip. So I'm going to grab some pins so you'll be able to see that. Now, I'm not going to sew it because I haven't squared it up. I just want you guys to see. So just pretend like my pins are my stitch. Okay, so where the pins are, that's where you're going to stitch. And it'll come out like this on the front side. Can you see that?
Yes, it looks
Yeah.
great.
Now, on the back side, this is what it looks like on the back side. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is take this that I stitched down, the strip that I stitched to this,
Oh, okay.
I see it. Okay.
I'm going to turn it under so that it covers my previous stitching line where I said I was going to pretend where the pins are. Any questions?
Oh,
And
okay.
Oh, that looks so good.
that's what it's going to look like. Now, I have a choice. I can do it by hand or machine. If I do it by machine, I have to match up this stitching line with what's on the front.
Oh, okay.
Or else it's gonna look.
Oh, it's gonna go through. Okay.
Good. Yeah. I always do it by hand. I mean, that's the only hand sewing that you'll have to do in this project. And so you put another block on the other side, just like you did this one.
Mm-hmm.
Do your rows the same way. So you build block by block by block, and you'll have your first row. Then your second row is attached the same way, and your third row, and then you'll have 9 complete blocks. So I want to show you this quilt, the one that I told you that I've been working on since the summer.
Yeah. Oh, that's so pretty.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Let me hold this up.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I'm gonna try to. There. Okay, this is it.
That is
Oh, that's so pretty.
So what I did, like in the middle block,
Mm-hmm.
my own designs. I quilted that block, with some swirls,
Mm-hmm.
because the other ones were already pre-quilted, and then I attached it. This is what the back looks like.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I love that
That is
fabric.
beautiful.
So your back is really important.
Yes.
So pretty.
So now I want to share with you another one. I did a small one, and that one's hanging up here, of my niece.
I've been keeping my eye on that. That is so beautiful.
Okay, that was my niece, and when she was here last year, for Thanksgiving, I dressed her up and did the African hat.
Mhm.
And then what I did was I changed the coloration of the picture. Before I printed it out, I did it on the computer. So I'm going to share with you guys some of the apps that I use to change my design. If I can find my, oh, here's my phone. So if one of these I paid for, some of them are free and you can do testers on them. But I bought, and then you don't have to buy these apps. You can actually do it on your computer. My MacBook Air has a lot of different colorations, like if I want to do sepia print or if I want to keep it the same as I took the picture. But I have one that's called Clip to Comic. The one that I really love is called Paint, PAINNT. That was $9.99 a year in the Apple. I have another one called Pixelmator, Photo to Sketch, Brushstroke, Waterlog. So I've been experimenting with my design, taking a picture of the design, and then I'll paint on top of it, and then I'll print it out. So I'll show you a couple examples. This is a design of mine. And I used brushstroke
Oh, that's so cool.
to give it a different effect.
Uh-huh.
Then I used the one called Paint, and I used this. These are my grandkids.
Oh, that's so
Oh.
cool.
The little one in the middle, he
He's
doesn't
adorable.
wear glasses, but he's so cute.
He is.
And they all have their hair like that.
That's
They're handsome.
Took a fine line pen and I kind of accentuated their hair.
so
And
cool.
that's the boys. And this is Mackenzie.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Aw.
So then I took a quote that says, "Our family is like a patchwork quilt with beauty all its own, pieced together with love and warmth to bless our little home,
I love that.
to comfort and console through our laughter, love, and tears. It offers a remembrance of our yesteryears."
That's
So
beautiful.
that I'm working on. And last but not least, I took another design and I manipulated that design.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And
Beautiful.
I manipulated it so that the colors would be like these fuchsias and blues. And then I took watercolor pencils called Ink Tints
Oh.
by Derwent. You can find them online. And you can actually draw
Derwent?
and Derwent, DERWENT. But make sure you get ink tints because ink tints is specifically designed to do watercolor on fabric. That's another whole. I could do a class on that, and I just started with the photo manipulation, the painting, and taking a picture of it and printing it out on the computer, and then I quilted it. So this is the front, and then this was the back. I had actually done something different on the back, and I was actually experimenting, but I did finish this little piece. So if you just want to do a small piece for your family and you don't want to do a whole quilt, you can just take one picture or 3 pictures and do it lengthwise. You don't have to always have 9 blocks. And with the one that I did of Jessica, my niece, I just did strips. I did strips around it, and then I quilted it. I used a pounce pad to to do the quilting designs instead of drawing on it. So it was like chalk on here. But pretty much it came out okay. So that's it.
The sample that you worked on, Liz, how do you finish the edges? Like, how did you the finishing aspect? You don't bind it or anything, or?
Yes. Okay. I didn't bind it. When I bind the fabric, okay, this is a good example. I cut a 2.5-inch strip and I doubled it and then sewed it right sides down. And then on the back side, I folded it under and then I stitched from the right side in the ditch like that.